Welcome to Toya Talks Real Estate, where I get straight to the point and help you navigate and understand all things related to real estate. In today's video, we're going to talk about the top 10 tips for you first-time home buyers. Now, I know that it can be extremely difficult to navigate in this very competitive, sometimes expensive, but competitive market. But trust me, if you follow these tips, you are going to be successful. Tip number one, you have to save. It is so very important that you save money before you buy a house. Now, I don't want to scare anybody because I don't want you to think that you have to have this astronomical amount of money. You have to have the whole 20% down plus some. Like, I don't want to scare you guys, okay? When I say save, I always tell my clients it's best to have at least $10,000 saved. Okay, and that's being like very generous. Like, if anything, I'll probably want to say 12, 13, but that's a good amount because you want to have money for closing costs, and you also don't want to deplete your savings where it leaves you with nothing. So even if you only have $12,000, there are still programs that will help you with your down payment, which we all know them as down payment assistance programs, right? So as far as the down payment goes, you're covered at 100% on that. And the only thing that you would be responsible for is closing costs. Now, for closing costs, that's typically between 1 and 4% of the total purchase price of the home, right? So if you're purchasing a house and it's $100,000, your closing costs could be around $1,000, right? But it just depends. It can go up a little bit more than that depending on the lender and the different fees that are involved. However, if you have that $10,000 saved, it's not really going to take a big hit for you, right? And even when you move in, you still may encounter problems. You may have minor plumbing issues, or depending on what the inspection report found and whatever you negotiated in the deal, it still gives you time to fix up the home to your liking, buy you some new furniture, do whatever you got to do so that you're not depleted, okay? For most lenders, underwriters like to see you have at least 3 months of reserves left in the bank. And what I mean by reserves is whatever your mortgage payment would be per month, they like to see that in your bank account after all of the costs are tallied up, which is the closing costs, down payment, all of that together. They like to see at least 3 months reserve left over of what your mortgage payment would be. So for instance, if your mortgage payment is $1,000 a month, after you've paid all of your costs related to your real estate transaction, they want to see at least $3,000 left over in the bank, because they don't want to give a loan, that large of a loan, to somebody who is going to deplete their savings, right? That is already an indicator of bad money habits. Tip number 2, it is so important for you to improve your credit score, right? And for a few reasons. I know that you guys hear like, oh, I can buy a house with a 580 credit score. I know you hear that all the time, right? I mean, you can, but I'm gonna be real honest with you, okay? Your interest rate gonna be high as hell, okay? Like, it's like, do you even want to do that? The amount of money that you paying in interest, right? Versus if you would have waited a little bit, paid off some debt, got a better credit score, and then applied, you're either going to be paying the same amount or even less, right? So I would not propose anybody to go that route, okay? I would propose that you take this time to get your credit score up. And when I say get your credit score up, at least a 620. Do what you have to do to settle those collections on your account. You're using less than 30% of your total credit card usage. Just do whatever you can do to make sure that your credit score is at least a 620. So tip number 3, calculate what you think that you can afford, okay? So you definitely don't want to be spending 50% of your income on a mortgage, okay? It's not that serious, okay? Everybody don't have to know that you buying over here, but you just working to stay in the house. You can't even put food in. We don't want to do that, okay? So it's very important to make sure that you can afford this house. Okay, so you may go and get pre-approved, and they may say, "Oh, you're pre-approved for like 250,000," and then you may get like a mortgage. Let's just say of 1,400 or something like that. Can you afford that? There are a lot of resources on the internet. I believe you got Bankrate, Nerd Wallet. There are different websites where you can go and put your income in, the amount of debts that you have on a reoccurring monthly basis, and it'll let you know like what your what your estimated mortgage would be based on what you're pre-approved for, or just even your income, not even with the pre-approval, right? So just really sit down, do the math, look at your debt, look at what you're spending your money on, if you can decrease your spending. If you're paying high rent right now, do you want to pay that same amount as a mortgage or less? Like really sit down and do the numbers, because I'm a firm believer that it's all in the numbers. Okay. Tip number 4: it is very important for you to find a realtor that has your best interest. Most of the time, it's so many realtors out there. Everybody and their mama a realtor now. Okay, you go down the street, their cousin a realtor. You go over here to the restaurant, the man's husband, whatever. Somebody is a realtor. Okay, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be the realtor that's going to work for you and be in your best interest, right? You definitely want somebody who's experienced working with first-time home buyers. Okay, just like you have realtors that specialize in luxury, you have realtors that specialize working with military clients because they're very experienced working through the VA process. All kind of realtors, right? And they have different levels of experience working with different type of programs and clientele. So it's really important that you get somebody who's used to working with first-time home buyers, because they're going to be familiar with any type of assistance programs that are around locally, when the deadline is, when things open up for you. They're going to be able to, be more patient with you, walking through the process. Also be more knowledgeable and help you be more realistic with what you're asking for. Like it's so many different components to it, but all of that is to say that you really want to find somebody who's going to work for you. Understand that this is your first time going through this home buying process, and that they have the patience and that they have the due diligence to do right by you, right? And listen to your needs. Tip number 5: shopping for a mortgage. So now that you have found you a good realtor, you got all your ducks in a row, you are now ready to get pre-approved for a mortgage. Now, most realtors, they have a designated group of lenders that they work with. Different lenders fit different client needs. So if you're a first-time home buyer, there are lenders out there, mortgage lenders, that specialize in working with first-time home buyers. They have programs that help you with closing costs, that offer 100% financing. That's the 100% down payment program. So it's very important that the realtor that you choose has those resources, right? So when you work with the lender, it's very important to not just speak with one. You may want to speak with 1, 2, or 3 lenders, because each lender has different programs for you to choose from, right? So since this is a very big step, a very big purchase for you, you want to make sure that you have covered all of your bases. You have all of the things on the table that you need so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Tip number 6: mindset, right? It is very, 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 very important to have a positive mindset going through this experience, okay? Due to the market being so hot and so competitive, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, it's probably gonna take a little bit longer if you're a first-time home buyer, especially if you're using FHA or VA financing. It's gonna be a little bit longer, but that's not as a means to discourage you. It's just to be real. It's also important that you have a realistic mindset, right? So since the times are changing, sometimes our expectations have to change, but not permanent, okay? So hear me out. So if your dream home is for you to be in this, this 5-bedroom house or 4-bedroom house, 3 bath with a jacuzzi, and it's a yard and all of that, Okay, down here in South Florida, okay, that's gonna be about 500,000, maybe 400,000, depending on, you know, it may be new construction or it may need some work, maybe like 450-ish, somewhere around there. But for the most part, it's going to be, that's a $500,000 house in South Florida. Okay, most people, that may be too much for a first-time home buyer, but that shouldn't discourage you. Okay, what I would suggest is, hey, let's try a townhome or a condo, or maybe let's try a 3-bedroom and a 2-bathroom that may need some work, or a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom that may need some work. Okay, so you have to have a long-term vision, not short-term vision, when it comes to real estate investing, especially if you're buying a home with the intention to build generational wealth. Okay, so generational wealth, that's a long-term gain. Okay, so also investing, you have to have a long-term vision and mindset. So even if you have to get into a fixer-upper, right, and you take the time to fix up the property, and then once time, it appreciates, and the money that you reinvested back into that property, by the time you sell it, you can take that profit, put it into your new property, and bam, you get your dream house. But see, it's all about mindset. Tip number 7. Number 7, y'all. As a buyer, as first-time home buyers, if you're a couple or if you're a single person, doesn't matter. You have to be able to make decisions for yourself, okay? Or as a couple, between you two. And this is what I mean by that. A lot of the time, first-time home buyers, like, they're so unfamiliar with the process, they're taking advice from everybody. Okay, you got your mama talking to you, you got your auntie telling you this, you got your uncle telling you what he did back in 74, and you got all this background noise going on. It's really best to determine what you want for yourself. Or if you're searching as a couple, it's really best for you two to sit down and figure out what's best for you two. Okay, the amount of bedrooms that's best for you two, the amount of bathrooms, the neighborhood, the school zone, all of those things that's best for you two, or you as a person. All right. I don't have no more fingers to put up, but this tip number 8. So buyers who put the full down payment amount down at the time that you submit the offer, you are taken more seriously. You are looked at as a serious buyer in 2 ways. Okay, 2 ways. In one way, you're looked at as a serious buyer from the seller. Okay, because instead of just splitting the down payment into 2, or I'm gonna bring it 10 days after this, no, you flat out put 20 G's on the table, right? That is showing the seller, like, okay, they serious. Because who would be willing to risk $20,000 if they're not serious? That's not some kind of money you play with. Okay. And 2, you also look more serious in the eyes of the underwriter, because statistics have shown that the higher the down payment is, the more likely you are to get the mortgage approved. Okay, so that may also show the mortgage company that you're serious. Okay, so make sure that whatever house that you do put an offer in on, like, don't be scared to put the full down payment down. Like, this is a serious process. You're not wasting your time, you're not wasting your money. You prepare for this, and don't waste it then. Show them that you're serious. Show them that you want this property. You willing to put all the cards on the table. Tip number 9. It is very important that your bank statements 2 to 3 months prior of you going through the underwriting process, and that's after you got the offer accepted, you went through the inspection, got it appraised, and all of that, that final step when you're getting it, the underwriter is looking at all of your finances. They're going to be looking at the last 2 to 3 months of your bank statements. Okay, so you've been out here at the Gucci store, and you've been out here at Chick-fil-A every weekend, and like, you just get your spending habits are erratic, or you have random large purchases from all over the place. I'm telling you now, it's not going to look good. Okay, you really want to demonstrate that you have good spending habits. Okay, you're good with your money, you pay your bills, You're able to take a large amount of your money left over after paying your bills and also save money. You're not being erratic. Like they really sit down and analyze your bank statements to really draw a picture of you and your behavior and your spending habits, and if they should give you this mortgage. And tip number 10, student loans. Y'all can, you can still buy a house if you got student loans, right? So it's very important that you get your student loans on an income driven repayment plan or some sort of repayment plan, because the lenders, they're going to calculate that monthly payment into your debt to income ratio. Okay, if your student loans are in default, they're going to take, I believe it's 0.5% or 1% of your total debt amount and then calculate that into your debt to income ratio. And that can be high. If you owe $100,000 in student loan debt, that's $1,000 added to your debt to income ratio, or 500 if they do the 0.5 calculation. Why you want to do that, right? So go ahead, get on an income driven repayment plan, public service forgiveness, whatever options that they have. And if you have a $250 payment, $300 payment, $100 payment, you want to make sure that payment is calculated into your debt to income ratio. Because when you're purchasing a house, your debt to income ratio, they like to see it at 43%. I believe it's 43%. But FHA allows you to go as high as 57%. But even then, you don't even want to do that. Because if you're submitting an offer and a listing agent sees that your debt to income ratio is that high, that's going to make the listing agent nervous. That's going to make the bank nervous. That's going to make the seller nervous. That's going to make it look like that you really can't afford this. Okay? So try to get those student loans in order before you make the next step to purchase a house. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comment box below. I really want to educate you guys on the home buying process, and also if you're in a position that you want to sell, there's also a lot of things that you guys need to know, and I'm always here to let you guys know those things. I really want you guys to be empowered and educated and really understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Therefore, you can make better decisions and more confident decisions. So again, this is Toya with Toya Talks Real Estate, and I'll see you guys later.